last couple of days, I've been having some discussions on LinkedIn about the value of working software. And this is a chapter that I'm writing in my book currently. My book is called Delivering the Impossible. And so I thought I'd just try and put together some thoughts about what it is about working software that's so important and valuable when you're developing software products. And so I've come up with this idea of the 7 Ps. I think there are 6 on the screen there. Don't worry about that too much. And yeah, so 7 Ps, like 7 reasons why working software is a good idea. First one is pull. So by releasing working software, by putting working software in the hands of users, you create pull from the users. So you create a force that is pulling value out of the software, which is different from what you had before you put the software in the hands of users. Before that, you had push, which was a push from the people who paid for you to do this, a push from the people who had the idea. So the dynamic of the project completely changes when you start to put things in the hands of users. And that brings me on to the second P, pivot, which is that, as I said, the dynamic completely changes. Once you have users, those users, they have things about your software that you like. They have things about your software that they don't like. They have things that they want more of. They start to use your software in ways that you hadn't anticipated. So this is extremely good for the product. So it might upset the people who originally had the idea. It might make the people who had their own thoughts in the team about what the product should do. It might not make them happy, but it starts to make the people who are actually going to use this thing happy. Third P, prison camp. So this is the idea that your software is essentially in jail. It's inside an organization. It can't get out. And what you need to know is, what do you have to do to get it out? What rules and regulations are you going to need to follow in order to get this software out and to be free? So software wants to be free, not like beer, not like speech, but like born free, like running around in the world. So and a lot of these rules and regulations and non-functional requirements that are required of software, you might be able to sit around and think about them without going and finding out. But probably a lot of these things, the only way to really find out what is stopping this software from being free is to try and get it there and find out who you trigger. Who comes along and says, no, you can't put this out yet because of this regulation? Who comes along and says, yes, but have you thought about? So this is a crucial aspect of working software, that you find these things out by trying to escape. You find out who's trying to stop you. Promotion. So that last slide might have upset a lot of people, might have worried people, because they're thinking, well, you know, what if we go live with user data and the thing isn't secure? What if we spell something incorrectly on the site and this upsets a lot of people, etc.? And so one way of thinking about this is that by talking about moving software into the hands of users, you're not talking about one single step of, one day the software is just on one developer's laptop, next it's kind of out in the wide world. What we're talking about generally is promotion. We're talking about trying to push software as far towards the outside world as we can. And for some kinds of software, that might not be very far for a long time. So if this is software that does deal with critical data, that does deal with highly secure data, etc., we might not be able to push that out into the public for a long time. But then there's always a question of, like, who can you push it to and how far? So at the bottom there, I've talked about avenues of promotion. So which audience can you push this to? Is it just people on the team? Is it people in the organization? Do you have special friends of the organization, people you trust that you can push it to? Is there a small trial pilot bunch of users in a particular region or in a particular subset that you can use it to? So how can you push it to the audience? Data. Does the whole thing just have to work with dummy data that looks like nonsense? Could it be dummy data that is kind of based on real data? Or could you be having people using their own data, but maybe in a safe way so that if anything goes wrong, they can roll back? And environments. So this is like, again, what I was talking about with laptops. What is the environment that this software is on? Is it really just, I hate to think that this is really going to be the case in this far through the 21st century, but is it just on one laptop? Is it just in one environment in the cloud? Is it easy to move it from one environment to another? Are those environments duplicable? Can you have a live environment? So with all of these different directions that you can move with software, what you're trying to do is you're trying to promote things. You're trying to get things nearer to a situation where it's publicly available or available to whatever the user set is for this thing. It has live data on it and it's in a live site. Now, a lot of those things, there might be really good reasons why you can't get that far. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to push things, poor old Sisyphus there, you're trying to push things as far as you can in that direction. And I know this doesn't begin with P, but it's an important P, surprise. So when you try and do this, when you try and push software as far as you can out into the real world, you will be surprised. And that is because software is magic. The science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke said, sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that's absolutely the case with software. And the thing about that is that people will react to your software in ways that you have absolutely never imagined. They will react to software, they will do things with it that you didn't expect them to do. And they will absolutely react to software in a way that is completely different from the way they would do if they were reading a requirement specification. That's the crucial thing. So when you do this, when you put software in the hands of users, they will do amazing things. You'll think, what was that she just did? Why did she do that? Or they'll put things together in ways that you didn't expect. So the part of the point of doing of pushing software as far as you can out into a live environment is to be surprised. And the other thing that I've mentioned there is product prevention. So the thing that we were talking about in terms of prison camp. As you do this, you will find other obstacles that you need to get over in order to do this. So people will turn up and say, well, you need to comply with this regulation. People will turn up and say, well, you have to be assessed in this way. You have to do this security thing. All of those kinds of things have to happen. And that is part of why you're trying to get the software as near live as you possibly can. And this will piss everybody off. This is the crucial thing that you need to understand about delivering working software, is that nobody will like you if you do this. And it is something that you absolutely have to do. Who will get pissed off? Well, the people who had the original idea, the people who funded the idea, they'll both feel very uncomfortable because it might start to seem obvious that this idea was very expensive to realize and there are some fundamental problems with it. Lots and lots of people on your team, it will also piss off. User researchers, they'll want to do lots more user research before anything is released. Designers, they'll want to probably have an end-to-end flow and a look and feel for the whole thing before anything is released. Developers will tell you that there's no point in just releasing a bit of this thing. You might as well wait until the whole thing is ready. Testers will tell you that they haven't tested it enough. All of those keepers of risk, regulations, accessibility, compliance, and security, all of those people, they'll be pissed off if you try and release things. So this is an important thing to understand about working software, is that the business of trying to get it into live, which is absolutely what you should be doing, is going to annoy a lot of people. In fact, the only people who might not be pissed off with you trying to push working software into the hands of users are users. If you push some new software that makes their life easier, if you push some new software that entertains them, if you push some new software that makes it easier for them to find a restaurant, find love, find the perfect gift for their family, all of those kinds of things, they will probably like you. And what if they don't like you? What if they're utterly indifferent to what you the software that you put in front of them? There's still an important reason why it's worth doing that. And the reason that it's worth doing that is because when do you want to find out that nobody cares about this idea that you've got? When you're 10% through the project and you've still got a chance to move and change and try something else? Or when you're 110% through the project and you've spent all the money and everybody is miserable? So even though you're going to annoy a lot of people by pushing working software, the only chance that you have of pleasing the users is by putting software in their hands. And just one final thing, but actually three final things. Reputational damage. Now, this remember what we talked about with promotion. I'm not saying show this thing to everybody all at once right at the beginning. What is a group of users that you could show this to? People you trust. How do you frame this? You said this is an early alpha. We're just getting feedback for this. Legal requirement. I don't want you to tell me that something is a legal requirement as a way of stopping software going out, unless you've got that many judges standing around you, right? I absolutely don't want you to tell me that something is a legal requirement if you haven't talked to anybody who knows about the law, or you're not going to talk to anybody who knows about the law. And finally, this thing about promotion. Yes, some projects can't just put their software out on the doorstep and let anybody pick it up and use it. There are all sorts of security concerns, there are all sorts of regulatory concerns, etc. But how far can you push things so they're getting to the point where they can be used?